Good morning, sir. Good afternoon for you.
Yeah, and the same right back at you. Good morning or afternoon. Good whatever applies to you, which in your case would be morning. And
It
and
is
my
morning.
my son was standing across from me watching the air drum to our intro, and he's thinking to himself, "My God, there's something wrong with my father." Yeah.
Well, when he takes you in for that cognitive test, you'll know. You'll
Uh,
know why he's taking you in.
Why? I did really good on the cognitive test when I went for my whatever the hell it was, my Medicare how you doing update, whatever it was.
Yeah, don't they give you like a what time it is on the clock thing?
Yeah, they ask
Yeah.
you to draw a clock, number one,
Oh,
and then draw the time, and then put in the hands showing the time they asked you, like 1:10 or whatever it was. I don't
I know some younger people who couldn't do that test.
know. I
Who
I passed with flying colors.
I think they could do a digital clock, but they couldn't put the hands on for you.
Yeah, well, I think younger people would have to draw like an iPhone.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Bill.
Draw a clock. Oh my God, it looks suspiciously like my phone. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So how far can I go? Tell me how far before I run out of electricity.
I mean, well, that depends what you're driving. So Edmunds did a wonderful study. They took a lot of time out to go through and test a whole bunch of vehicles real world.
Yes.
So they did their own tests and they came up with their own ranges based on real world. So this wasn't in an enclosed track and the perfect temperature and a perfect day. Although, let's be honest, it also wasn't the middle of winter in Michigan
Well,
either.
I mean, from what I read, their methodology was that they did this in the LA area, and they did 60% city driving and 40% highway driving, because city driving would be faster than highway driving in LA.
That's right.
And I was thinking to myself as I was reading, they must have done this at like 4:00 in the morning, because how else can you do any real highway driving in LA?
I mean, not on the 405, but you can get through on 5 and a couple other highways here and there.
Yeah, when?
4 early morning,
yeah,
late evening.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was interesting, that they chose LA, and one of the reasons they chose LA is because, well, they have some of the finest weather, temperature wise. It's like almost ideal for EVs to be stationed in the LA area. And I thought it was interesting the way they did it. And if I had that really overpriced Mercedes-Benz, I could go a lot further than what Mercedes was saying I could.
That's right. That was one of the things that I found very interesting on the study is, except for Tesla, which came in, average about 6 miles less than EPA estimate, and Lucid, which was quite a bit lower than estimated by the EPA. Almost all these other vehicles came in over EPA estimate.
Yes.
And I was just going to share my screen on this, Ray, but
I think you should.
I cannot.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
I cannot. Unfortunately, I have a brand new computer and setup for all that I'm doing here now, and I forgot to give permission, so it would kick me off the air to share my screen.
Oh, well, we don't want to do that. And then naturally, I have the Edmunds article pulled up on a different computer.
Of course.
So I can't share it on my screen because I don't have it on my screen.
So for those listening to the podcast, congratulations. We're not going to pull up anything on screen. We'll just talk about it.
Well, let's see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that sound? I have to search my email, Edmunds.
But there were definitely some surprises in here to me. Not that, the longest range vehicle is still Lucid. That didn't surprise me. But But there were some other surprises. Mercedes really surprised me out of this whole list. Really,
I was pretty surprised by it as well. Do you remember what day I sent it to you?
let me see. I have it in my email box.
Here we go. I think I found it.
All right.
Okay. Now,
Now, can you pull it up on your screen?
well, we might be asking too much, but we're gonna do our best. So then I think I have to hit present if I remember correctly, and I have to hit share screen, and I have to hit share or something. I don't know. I have to click on that and then hit share. And can you see it?
I can. Let's see if we can add it to the. Are you ready to add it to the stream?
Didn't I?
No. There we go. Now it is.
It?
There we go.
It's there?
It is.
Okay.
It is. We can all see that now.
Yeah. So here's the EV range leader. Can I just take a moment to say I am so damn proud of myself for figuring out how to search for that email, and then B, on my own, sharing it. Of course, I'm probably sharing all of my personal data that's on my computer anyway.
Nope, you're doing great. Actually, you're clipped perfectly. It looks great.
Okay, cool. So as you can see, the EV range leaderboard, number 1 and number 2 were the Lucid Air Dream and the Lucid Air Grand touring with 19-inch wheels. Lucid claims that the Air Dream gets 520, or EPA claims it gets 520 mile range, and Edmunds found that it only got 505. And the other one, the Air Grand, they EPA estimates 516, but Edmunds only got it to 438. But the big surprise to me was the Mercedes-Benz EQS 450, which had an EPA estimated range of 350 miles. And
which is good. Like you would buy it with the estimated range of 350 miles, no problem.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that seems reasonable in today's world. And yet through Edmunds' real-world testing, they got it to 422 mile range. That's pretty significant increase.
It is. It's a huge increase, and I wish more of these vehicles were like this, where they're getting more than the EPA estimated range.
Yes.
Unfortunately, everything in the top 1, 2, 3, 4 are over $100,000 vehicles.
Wow, you can't have everything, Justice.
So that EQS 450 is $103,360 to start.
Almost seems reasonable, don't you think?
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Lucid, real fast, did you see the other Lucid news?
What, isn't their CEO one of the highest paid CEOs in the world?
Yeah, him and the CEO of NVIDIA are the two highest paid CEOs. Can you imagine, Ray, losing $500,000 per vehicle that you made and being, was it $379 million a year?
I can't imagine how much they'd pay him if they were making money.
I know. I just imagine.
I mean, if they're going to pay him $339 million a year to be losing a couple $1 billion, what do you think they'd pay him if they were making a couple $1 billion?
Yeah, it almost seems like a money laundering scheme. Like, what are you paying him for? Like, I don't fully understand what's going on here in this. NVIDIA, I get the AI revolution. They're the ones making the chips. They're doing all that. Like, I get that one. The Lucid, I did not get.
You know what one of my favorite sayings is? Nothing succeeds quite like failure.
Well, look at Wall Street and tell me that's not true.
And so there are some really interesting rewards for failing big, and the CEO of Lucid is living proof of that.
Yeah.
If you can be losing $555,000 per vehicle sold, and somebody thinks, man, that guy deserves a raise. Well, I don't think we're paying him enough. I thought 320 million a year was, but I think we should top him out at 339.
I'm surprised. He must be the greatest talker in the world. Like when he goes into those shareholder meetings, like he must have a golden tongue. I mean, good for him. But I'm not one who understands that, but I'm also not one to say, hey, this guy doesn't deserve it. That's what your investors and stock people want to pay him. Then okay, like
and the
I don't know why, but good luck.
Yeah, the big investor is a Saudi fund.
Mm-hmm.
So and then they just partnered with McLaren, because if you're only going to sell, like, I don't know, 1,500 cars a quarter, might as well be Lucid's and McLaren's and get paid a lot for it.
Yeah. I mean, good luck to them. Good luck to them. I don't understand, but look, I didn't understand 10 years of Amazon losing billions either. And I now look at them. So
yes, I didn't quite understand that. I kept thinking to myself, how does this work? How do they stay in business? What is it that investors see? And today, obviously there were certain investors that had a vision and they saw what was going to happen. Those are probably the same investors that think Carvana is going to change how used cars are sold, to the same degree that Amazon changed how we in America buy everything, not just books. So although I'm not convinced the investors that see a bright future for Carvana are really onto something, but then again, what do I know? I've said it before, Carvana practices some magical accounting when everybody else's used car gross profits are going down. Everybody else in the industry, their used car profits are going down, and their finance profit per used car sold is going down. And yet this is, Carvana was a company that had always had the lowest profit per used car sold, and some of the and relatively high finance profit per used car sold. And then suddenly, after they lost $2 billion, they said, oh no, we know how to turn it around. And like that, they were able to take what had been the lowest profit margins in the industry to be the highest, when everybody else is declining because the market's not as strong. So yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't like. I have said this many times on the show. I don't really understand the market right now. I don't like, things seem counterintuitive. Look, where you just did it on your last show, and I've noticed this the last week and a half. Vroom all of a sudden is coming in with just insanely high offers on everything. Like I knew when Zach was running that vehicle on today's show with it, that it was going to be Vroom, because every single vehicle that I have run across in the last week and a half, Vroom has been the highest offer. What data are they seeing that they think and it's always like they're right there at the dealer's asking price.
Yeah, they're at retail.
Yeah, and I don't understand where that's coming from, what they see, what the strategy there is. So I see that in a lot of the segments right now. I just kind of look, and I'm not fully understanding. There seems to be something at play that I don't understand.
It reminds me of a strategy that a owner I worked for had. And that was that on his used cars, they were non-negotiable. The prices were the price. They were high in many cases. And his theory was, at a certain point, I don't care how long I sit on this car, at a certain point, I'm going to have the only one left. It's going to be the only one. I'm going to be the only choice somebody has. And they're going to have to pay me what I'm asking for. Now, that might be a year from now. That might be 2 years from now. But he was prepared to wait. Now, maybe Vroom is suddenly thinking, well, we need to buy up all the good quality used cars so that nobody else can have them. And when somebody wants a quality used car, there's only going to be one outlet for them to go to, and it's going to be us at Vroom.
Yeah, I don't. That has to be somewhere in the mind, or they see something. I don't know if they're all getting ready for the auto worker strike, but I still say, okay, I'm like, I do think that'll obviously it's going to affect things, but 3 manufacturers, it doesn't affect any of the Asian brands.
Yes.
It's not gonna. So kind of like I don't know, except that in America, I guess trucks are the thing that sells. So maybe that'll affect that market.
I guess, and that Sportage that we ran, that's sort of like a truck. I know when we were in St. Martin, that was what we rented, was one of the newer body style Sportages, the front wheel drive version, not an all wheel drive version. And that damn thing could barely make it up the hill to get to the house that we had rented. I mean, literally at one point, Zach was burning rubber and the car was rolling backwards trying to get up this hill. Now granted, I'm what, 30, 40 pounds overweight. There were 5 of us in the car. Dara, Zach, Laura, me. Yeah, 5 of us in the car. I don't know. You would.
Yeah.
So I know based on that, I would never own a Sportage. Based on having rented one. It was lovely to look at, by the way.
Yeah. It's not my favorite of the Kias. Like, not that I'm a huge fan of Kia, but I like some of them. Certainly like their EVs, which we will talk about some more tomorrow's show.
Okay.
We'll be talking about how to get a good deal on an EV. The spoiler alert, we're going to have Mario on, so I bet that can tell you how you can get a good deal on an EV.
I bet I could tell you without even having Mario on, but I'm not going to tell you today. I'm going to allow Mario to tell us all tomorrow. But the only spoiler alert I will give you is that it is one of the few times that a tax loophole is beneficial to the average person, as opposed to the wealthy person. So,
well, and looking at the top 10 on this range list here,
yes,
the one thing that I have noticed is there's only one car that's below $50,000 in the top 10 on these ranges,
and that was
the Tesla Model 3 long range.
Wow.
At 345 miles, according to Edmunds.
Yeah.
Which I put more stock in theirs because I went down and found mine in their list, and it was a lot closer to what I actually get than what the EPA says. And that is also the only one with $7,500 tax credit in the top 10.
Wow. And what I liked about the way Edmunds did their thing is they ran all the cars until they only had 10 miles left in range. And,
which practically don't do that, people.
Yeah. And so they took how far they had driven and they added the 10 miles to how far they had driven to get the total. And let's face it, I'm just guessing. I don't know this to be fact, but I would suspect that every one of these EV manufacturers, when they say you only have 10 miles left, it's probably 20 or 30.
Yeah. There's a buffer, just like your gas tank.
Yes.
There's a little bit of a buffer in there. Just don't rely on it because heaven forbid, I mean, there's safety protocols in your EV to make sure it never goes to zero, but things fail. If you ever did get to zero, there'll be nothing you can ever do about it. You have a brick.
Forever?
I mean, you change the battery.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
You can't charge it again?
Not if you got to true zero. Now, again, there's a lot of safety protocols to prevent that.
So that you don't get the true zero.
Yeah, so you don't get to true zero. It's supposed to shut off. So, because remember, to charge the vehicle, you need enough charge to manage the charging.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so the vehicle has to manage. Otherwise, you can't just put unlimited amount of electricity into it, right? It has to be managed, and and everything. So if you were to get to true zero, there would be nothing you could do to charge. You could blow up the system, whatever else could happen. So so it's designed to never go to true zero. But I'm a cautious person who doesn't like to rely on, ironically, technology too much.
Here's a question for you. Can a fully discharged battery, and I mean fully discharged, true zero, can they still catch on fire?
I would imagine so. Well, no, there would be nothing to catch on fire, right? Because it's the heat from the electricity that's causing that. So I would think that, I don't know. I can answer that as an intellectual theory, but with zero to back me up on that one.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say no if it's at absolute zero. But again, they're designed to not be at absolute zero.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. That just, that silly ass thought just crossed my mind.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thought because as the hurricane went through Florida, we once again saw some EVs that got flooded in the salt water and have caught fire.
Yeah. So are you suggesting to me that there's still people out there that don't understand that, I don't know, electric batteries and salt water don't play well together?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they couldn't do anything about it. I have no idea. I wasn't there, wasn't in the hurricane zone. I don't know, their situations and everything else. I did find out something else interesting, though, Ray, this weekend.
Okay.
Speaking of,
Okay.
And this is related in a way. We talk about all the time. I hear, well, in a disaster like a hurricane, I wouldn't want to be in an EV because if the power goes out, I couldn't charge my vehicle.
Yes.
To which I always retort, all the gas pumps, by the way, are all electric. So you also couldn't get gas. And don't tell me you have a gas pump at your house that's manual that you get, please. Nor do you realistically have a tank of gas in your garage extra that you could fill up your car. Like, come on. Not everyone has that. But what I found was interesting is we had some vandalism in my area, and 3 of the cities around me, including me, were out of internet for 27 hours this weekend during the holiday, which was lots of fun.
Sure.
Several gas stations were not able to do anything because they rely on internet for their credit card processing, for their pumps, and a few of the other things, which I had not thought of. Is you can still have electricity in your gas station, could still not work for lack of internet alone. So I had not really contemplated that, and I know that wouldn't be any different for charging because I need internet to connect to pay for my charging and everything else. So I've experienced that before.
Is there, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but you know me, I just, as we talk, I have silly questions that pop into my mind. And we know that when electric vehicles do catch fire, it's a lot more heat involved and a lot more difficult to put out. Was part of the infrastructure bill to better equip fire companies to have the requisite tools and chemicals for electric vehicle fires to be able to put them out?
I don't remember seeing anything about that. That was something I was tried to go to the national charging meeting last week, and I didn't get my spot in time. I'll try to go to the next one because I have questions about that too, about how prepared but I think those are municipality issues.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where that is, and certainly, as we've learned with these EV fires, water is not the best thing to put them out. You have to use so much water. You need a foam, and where is that coming from? Who's making that? How much are the fire trucks made? And I understand the people who are like, well, this puts too much of a burden on them. But I flip that and say, yeah, but in the last 20 years, a lot of the burden has been taken off of them because things are built better. They're not as flammable, and that's why they moved a lot more into to rescue situations and emergency situations and not fighting as many fires. They adapt well, is my point. Firefighters and fire departments adapt really well. So I'm hoping that this is here because look, with the water situation, we've even seen that is you put it out and 5 minutes later it could just ignite again.
Yeah.
And we've seen that several times over these because there's these pockets of things and electricity and thermal runaway, and this battery may not have run away yet, and you think you put out the fire, but then this one's still heating up, and this is something that has to be addressed. Certainly, I see in the chat we're talking some solid state questions and such. Solid state is not prone to thermal runaway, and you have a lot less of those issues. But right now we are where we are with what we have. And of course, technology will advance, and hopefully we'll get past some of that. But yeah, there's definitely a concern, and the hurricane really brought a lot of that back up again. And every time you have those natural disasters where there's salt water in particular involved, that just eats through the coating and protection of those batteries, and just creates so much of that problem. We're going to keep being reminded of this until there's some sort of universal fix or focus on this. And I think you shared a chart with us today on the top 10 and bottom 10 states with EV adoption.
Well, I sent that to you, which would require me to pull it up, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. But you sent it today, so it should be easier for you to
but
find.
I didn't. But I sent it from my personal account, not from my car edge account. So I have to. While we're on, I will click into my other account, and then that was from Automotive News, wasn't it?
Yes, that was an Automotive News article.
Okay, bear with me because I only get about 5,000 emails a day.
Yeah. But looking at, I don't think there's any surprises on that list at all.
Well, you know what? It would be easier just to go to my sent file.
God, that would probably
such a moron.
I would not go that far.
I would. I just did.
You did, but I would not.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you would not. So now I want to come back to StreamYard, and I want to present again, and I want to share my screen, and I believe, can you see it?
Yep, there it is.
Okay. So I guess green are the states that have the highest EV adoption.
Yep. And the purple are the lowest EV adoption.
Wow.
So, these could be blue and red state instead of a green and purple. But, I thought, interestingly enough, Texas and Florida aren't on there. I guess they're just sort of in the in-between. Because I do know they both have pretty high adoption rates, but I guess just not enough to make the top 10.
Yeah.
But, looking at this, and I think somebody in here, sorry, I'm sort of looking at the chat halfway. Somebody here recommended, different chemistries for different areas. There is, Michael said it. I don't know how that works from a selling perspective, but certainly there's something to say that, if you're in a place that maybe doesn't have the saltwater issue, that it's not as bad.
Can I ask you a silly question? Looking at the map, why do you suppose that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 10 states are in the West and Southwest?
I'm going to say, I'm guessing, partially because of attitudes.
Yeah.
But partially because, like it or not, who's the top EV manufacturer, Ray? You know the answer to this already. By a lot.
Would that be Tesla?
Yeah. So, and they started where? They started in Northern California.
Okay, yeah.
So I think, it's sort of a radius thing out from there, is my guess.
And then you could even include Hawaii. So there's really, for top 10, there's only 2 on the East Coast. One is Massachusetts.
That's right.
And the other is Maryland. Which
is probably the one that surprised me on this list. Most of them didn't surprise me that much. But, I mean, maybe a couple. But, Maryland was the one I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect quite that.
Well, I think Maryland has some really strong state incentives on top of the really strong federal government incentives.
But the state with the most aggressive incentives is Connecticut. They are not on this list.
Go figure.
Yeah. So, that's more recent. I know California statistically for the longest time had the best incentives.
Yes.
But, that has changed somewhat here and there, though they're back and forth. So like I said, I look at the map and I'm like, these could be red and blue states. I mean, you really can kind of look at it there. I think a lot of this has to do with attitudes about EV adoption. And look at the purple ones, right? Would you say cars or trucks sell better in those purple areas?
I'm guessing it's trucks.
I'm going to say it's like most of those places are trucks. And like it or not, the F-150 is not a full-fledged ready for work truck. And I think a lot of these places need ready for work trucks. The F-150 is a California truck, which is to say you'll probably never haul anything. You'll probably never tow anything. You just want a truck. That's the kind of truck the Lightning is, I think.
And for the life of me, in most pickup trucks, I see people drive, the beds are immaculate. Well, it's like nothing other than rainwater or snow has ever touched some of these beds.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like, why are they driving a pickup truck? I mean, why?
Look, so this is one of the first things that you recently met one of our new coaches, Ephraim,
yes,
who lives in Texas, down
yes,
south in Texas. And this was one of the first things we discussed, because I do, how many deals I see all the time, and I'm looking at these deals all the time. And when I get into Texas and I start voidering our members about, what kind of vehicle would be best for them and what fits, and how many times I've heard truck, but then nothing in their lifestyle suggests truck. And so I asked Ephraim, I'm like, how many people do you know with trucks that have never hauled anything, never put anything in the bed of their truck? He says, well, no, they put groceries in there all the time. I'm like, okay, other than groceries? He's like, no, yeah. Most people he knows with trucks, which is most people, aren't using them for like a truck purpose. And I was very surprised at that.
I think that there is some state law in Texas that those of us who don't live in Texas aren't aware of, that says you must own or drive a pickup truck if you live in the state of Texas. If you have more than one vehicle, one of them has to be a pickup truck.
So
I think it's the law. Otherwise, you're subject to going to jail.
Yeah. And I just want to say, it has not popped up in the chat yet, but I know it'll come. Yes, I'm buying a Cybertruck. No, I'm not planning on hauling anything or putting anything in the bed. I'm just going to be one of those people. That's just who I am. I have no need for a truck. I just like it. So I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that it's a really big thing out there that most of the truck people I know who here in California have trucks absolutely do not use them for anything truck-like purposes, which is why the F-150 Lightning is so popular over here.
I know one person. Actually, I know two people. I know two people that have pickup trucks. One is my neighbor who lives across the hall from me, who is a former builder. Okay, I mean, he built 2 homes for me at one point. And Jay still hauls things. And when I was remodeling the kitchen, you know, Jay and I went and we bought tile and stuff like that and Jay was kind enough and gracious enough to have them put the tile in the bed of his truck so we could drive it over to my storage unit and we could move it into the storage unit until they needed to use it. And the only other person I know that drives a truck is Nathan, the general contractor who actually did the work on my condo. And well, he needs a truck. I mean, it makes sense. But otherwise, I don't know anybody that drives a pickup truck that actually uses a pickup truck for what it was intended to be used for.
Yeah, I will say this, Ray. The people I know, and I do know a lot of builders and contractors. I've worked for a few of them, and out here, you know, we're building all the time here in California. So I do know a lot of them, but none of them have like F-150s. They're all like F-250s, F-350s, like they're the heavy duty trucks. And those, when you buy those, I say this all the time, those are work trucks for people who work and go do that stuff.
Yes.
And there are no current EV trucks that fit that bill. You're not going to go out in a F-150 Lightning or Rivian R1T and go do your, you know, your work truck stuff. That's just, it's not what those are built for. It's not what it is. So, you know, those who use work trucks for work are the bigger ones. And I do see this comment in here. There are cowboy hats. How many are cowboys? We can go into the origin of the cowboys and what they really were. But we won't get into that into this show. But yeah, I mean, to the point, yeah, a lot of these, you know, F-150, Ram 1500 style trucks, they're more style than they're just people like the style of them, which is why we're not getting the Model 2, by the way. Americans don't want tiny little cars. They want big things.
I get that it's the style that people like. I just, you know, I know most of them are crew cabs. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can carry the family so that you can have room for 5. But then you have that open bed behind you that that most people don't really use. Yep. It's like, my God, aren't you better off with like some type of sport wagon?
Yeah, an SUV or something like that. Yeah, you know, the first thing I'm going to do as soon as my Cybertruck comes in is call up everybody I know and tell them, no, I cannot help you move. That's because that's about all you're going to use that truck for. Is all your friends who want you to help them move now, and I'm too old for that now. So yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, there's just certain things I don't get, and really for the life of me, I don't understand what the manufacturers did, how it is that they created such a strong market.
Yeah,
these pickup trucks. I mean, what was it? I mean, what did they appeal to in the people? You know, for all the utilitarian things that it could do that people were never going to use it for. And the people, oh no, I gotta have that. I just gotta have that.
Look, really? I've been in the same place on the quandary and wonderment until the Cybertruck came out, which for all the reasons why all you hate it is why those of us who love it. You know, and I'm getting it because I like the style and I like but I have had a lot of questions.
Don't say you like the style.
I do.
Please do not say that because I like you. I think very highly of you. But when you say, I like the style of that truck or I like the look of that truck, suddenly, you know, my opinion of you, I think, what have I read wrong about you? Okay. You know, because I've said it before and I will say it again and I will piss off Tesla people when I say it. That is the ugliest friggin' vehicle I have ever seen designed for mass appeal in the history of vehicles. I mean, I can't recall much that was uglier than that. I really can't.
And those of us who love it disagree, and we love. And I don't think you piss off Tesla people, like Cybertruck people will disagree with you. But I know a lot of Tesla people who agree with you, Ray. Who just when I go and we charge and we hang out and we chat, so many of them are like, God, why would you want that? Why would you ever? And I'm like, well, look, I like the look of it. I think it's beautiful. I love it. But I think it looks post-apocalyptic? I do. I do think it belongs out of Mad Max, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah,
and if you don't like that thing, I get it. That's not your thing, and that's fine. I am very curious to see the adoption of it, because I know how many pre-orders and stuff there are, but realistically, how many of those people drop out and how many people keep with it. And so I'm curious to see what the full adoption of it are. I know there's a lot of us who are interested in it who were never truck people before. And I think that speaks something in there too. I don't know that it does speak to the truck people or to the you people who like your rounded corners or just not straight angles and hate the look of that. And I get that.
Do we have any price points on it yet?
I think the end of this month, next month, somewhere we'll get the price points, but there's just speculation right now.
Haven't they started shipping them?
No, it seems like everything that they've been building has been touring around the country to go to all the states and get, authorized in safety and all that in each state.
Gotcha.
So you see lots of pictures of them on the back of trucks being hauled around the country, but
that's why they're being hauled. They're not being hauled around for sale yet.
No, I think what you'll see is there's probably a lot stacking up in Austin where they'll do the launch, and the first investor will take delivery that day.
Gotcha.
On the launch, which would probably be, I think it's the end of this month, maybe it's next month.
Would that be Farzad? Will he be one of the first?
I think so. He might be. Be. We'll have to stay tuned to his channel. He is where I first caught the new refresh of the Model 3, which is going to tank the value of my car, but I really like it. I don't think the specs are enough for me to want to go trade up and get a new one, but it sure looks a lot better, I think.
Well, I haven't. I'll have to look and see what that picture looks like. But now at 1:28 in the afternoon for me, it is time for me to look into my fridge and pull out my turkey breast and my American cheese so I can make myself a sandwich.
That sounds good. And I got a meeting to go to, and then I got to figure out where to put this camera, because this is not a good angle for me.
Well, it works for me, but it might not work for the audience.
I have a whole new setup and all my stuff changed, so we'll have to see where I can put this camera that's better. I thought this was going to work, and it just has me, not a good angle.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So we'll be back here tomorrow with Mario.
That's right. Tomorrow with Mario talking about the best way to buy an EV in a market where EV prices are plummeting and resale values are dropping faster than anything we've ever seen.
I can't wait. I promise to be there.
I will be here too. And then, so we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you, Joe.